Right, well, for this instalment, really, I just want to get this off now, which is the hub that carries the crank damper. We've got an 1/8" bolt holding the hub on. A manual says about £250 from memory. I've never taken one off before, so I'm going to just try it with the battery gun. If we've got to make some sort of sprag for it, we will do, but let's see how we go on. Yeah, that's surprising. I thought that'd be a bit tougher proposition, but anyway. So we're back into making a puller. We've been here before, haven't we, folks? So I've gone for a really simple pull setup on this. I've got my C channel. I've got 2 1/2" UNF bolts into the damper. Cleaned up the threads. I've put a couple of nuts on them. I've put a socket inside to push on the end of the crankshaft. I've never ever taken one of these off before, so I don't know how tight it will be. So what I want to do first is go for I suppose a low torque method, because I don't want to do any damage, and if we have to make something bigger later on we can do, but equally I don't want to waste a load of time making a tool that I don't need to make. So all I'm going to do is try and apply some pressure. I'll just take a reading actually. So we're about 454 thou at that, just under 1/2 inch basically, isn't it? Let's give it a pull, see what it does. Well, we've got some weight on it now. I'm going to take another measurement and then we maybe go with a bit of percussion. Yeah, we've got no movement, so we'll try hitting it, see if that gives us anything. Not liking that, folks. That actually appears to have knocked it on further, because we've narrowed that gap now. Right, well, unfortunately the version 1 crank damper puller didn't work, or crankshaft hub puller didn't work, not enough torque. We're going to have to make something. We've got a section here of chassis left over. This is the Tyson Burridge chassis, so we've got a section of that left over, so I'm going to get a plate out of that and use that to mount the puller onto that flange. So I'm going to try and get an 8" square out of this. I'm going to make this up as I go along, and we'll see what we end up with. But it's just another one of those jobs, isn't it? You know, take up golf if you don't like it. It's one of those, isn't it? Like Brian Adams said, ain't no use in complaining when you've got a job to do. Let's go for it. Well, I've cleaned a section off there at about 20 inches. I only need 8. I need an 8" square, but I may end up doubling it up, so I'll get that cut out next. I think a wiser man would have popped round to yours and used that plasma cutter, Steph. So we've got a lump of 5/16 plate now, 8mm. I have centre dotted it earlier, so I'm going to map out now the bolt pattern and see if we can drill a hole through the middle that will give us room to put a pusher through. Great stuff. Right, so my 5/16 is cleaned up now. I haven't got a compass to mark out the hole. So what I've done, I've drilled 5.5, I've put a thread in it, so I've put an M6 thread in it, and I've got my piece of steel. So obviously when I wind it in, I've got my centre fixed, I've drilled a hole in this, 2 3/8. The pattern we need is 4 3/4. So or in colour that's 120mm, give or take, and this will be 60mm, give or take, but it's 2 3/8. So I'm just going to draw myself a circle. The bolt holes are 1/2 inch. I'll probably go 9/16 to give myself some wiggle room, and the spread from my calculations on there looks to be about 30 degrees. So I'll get this marked out and start the drilling process. Right, well, we've had a visit from my old mate Slaney, and I have got a little bit in front of myself on this. Basically, I've drilled now the holes, the pilot holes for the puller. I've got to drill these out to 9/16. Just in case you're wondering how I arrived at these measurements, I got my piece of scrap again. I know that from there to there is our ring base, as it were, our base circle. So all I've done is I've measured between those two, and it turns out that they're exactly the same. It's 2 3/8, or if you're watching in colour, as we've said before, it's 60mm. So all I've done is put them on there, giving him a quick marker pen on the line, and drilled him, and just followed it round, and that's how I've got me bolt spacing. I know that there's some of you out there are probably a bit more with it than I am and can work it out on calculation, but I just do it that way, and that's gone all the way round. So I'll get these drilled out to 1/2 inch, and then we've got to look at how we do the aperture to get the push tool through. Brilliant. Right, so we've got the plate drilled now, and all 6 bolts have gone in, so that's fitted an absolute treat, that. So the next job is to cut out this centre so that when we make a frame to go around the pushing device can push through onto the end of the crankshaft and hopefully pull this hub off without too much fuss. So next job, let's get that cut out, but I'm pleased with how that's gone. That's fitted really nice. I just hope this is going to be up to the job. Right, as you can see, we've had the hole saw out and we've chopped the centre out of the bracket now. So we've got the 6 holes around the outside, and we've got this this slug out the middle, which I'm sure will get used at some point out of the scrap pile. The reason I've gone for that size is not because it's the biggest hole saw that I've currently got, which it is, but it also accommodates this end for the porter power. This end for the porter power is too big for the crankshaft end. However, I do sort of envisage using this plate on other things, and that's why I've gone for the biggest end that comes with the porter power, so I can push through. So we're now going to make something. I don't know whether we do 4 points or just 2, so that we can accommodate, I suppose, a ram of some description in there, probably the porter power ram, something like that. And we're going to use that, which is a lump of 2-inch box with about a 4 or 5mm wall. Right, we've got all of the components built for our puller, so we'll get it installed. I've changed my mind on welding the square on. I'm going to leave you in suspense and we'll see what we come up with. So let's get these on. That one's got the washers on just because it's a bit long. So I've got the plate on, we just need to join it up now. I'm going to do that with these. So I've got my 4 threaded rods, and this is my backstop plate. I've left these edges on for 2 reasons. One, I didn't need to cut them off, so there's no point wasting an angle grinder disc. Obviously 2, it gives me a bit more strength, and if I want to I can box that in and get even more strength from it. But also, this, when it's in that position, acts as a rest, which should make putting the ram in a lot easier. There we go, just need some nuts for that now. Right, so everything's tight. I've put this foot on and I've had to sacrifice direct contact with the end of the crankshaft with that socket in there. I've got my hose through this side, and really all that's left to do is attempt it. So it's all nice and solid. Fingers crossed it'll pull it off here. I'm going to hide round the corner and move you back a little bit as well. Right, let's give it a go. Here we go. I think that's the ambulance coming for us. I can smell the hospital already here. Wow, she is tight. Well, we're bending the plate here. You can actually see a bend in the plate. So we're definitely getting some pressure on. Well, we're going to try and warm this up, and some jobs really are jobs for the Brenner, so this is one of them. Right, I've got to go for it now a bit while it's still warm. Okay.
We've had a big day on this by now. We're probably into this for about 6 hours. And I think I've gone quiet because 1, I'm knackered, and 2, I'm getting a bit despondent. Whilst I don't suppose today's trucks are quite as heavy going as these older ones, you still need to be in great shape to be an HGV fitter. If you've got a porker walking around your garage, he's probably not doing the job for you. So what we've reverted to here is a 12-ton bottle jack on its side. You'd like to think nothing's going to do it.
Right, let's have a go at this one. Don't hold out a lot, if I'm honest, but anyway, let's go for it.
At this point we're really committed. We've damaged the crank seal. It was already leaking, but we've damaged the crank seal with the heat.
I don't need this tube on to pull it, just to be a bit further away from it.
We've obviously pulled it about. It will be torn. We have got to get this hub off. I'm also concerned that I'm going to damage the hub. And more frightening is the creaking noises it makes while you're pulling it.
And I'm just bending the plate. Jesus, wet. Yeah, 20mm bar, and we're literally just bending it. We're bending the plate, bending the plate there, and we're bending the bar. Wow, that is unreal. Well, unfortunately it's happened while the camera was off. I ended up on my arse over there. I was just pulling on the jack and it popped off, and it popped off with a rape job. So I've left the jack and the puller where it is, and you can have a look at where everything's gone. So that's our engine, obviously. And that's where the puller ended up, and the gas bottle ended up over there. But all's well that ends well, because it's off. It's still a bit warm, but it doesn't like we've done any damage apart from the puller. But good job done. Right, the final job here is just to get this hub off and obviously check it for any damage. So that looks okay. Seal surface is pretty good. You can see where the old seal's been running, but I'll take that up to work and get it washed up with these other bits I've got. Brilliant. That'll do us for this one. Back to the drawing board, I think.